Episode 2, The Cattle Call. Katherine Morrison stood in the boarding line at Gate B17, watching the chaos unfold with growing unease. The gate area resembled a holding pen more than an organized boarding process. Passengers jostled for position despite the clearly announced boarding groups, their anxiety palpable in the pre-dawn terminal. Group 1 only, the gate agent repeated into the microphone, her voice edged with exhaustion. If you are not Group 1, please step aside. No one stepped aside. Katherine checked her boarding pass. Group 4, basic economy. She'd be one of the last to board, fighting for overhead bin space that would already be claimed by passengers who'd paid for priority boarding or status upgrades. From her corner of the gate area, she observed the scene with fresh eyes that had never seen this particular indignity from ground level. The gate agent was a black woman in her late 50s. Her skyward uniform pressed, but showing wear at the cuffs. Her name tag read, Gloria Martinez. Katherine filed the name away. Gloria's shoulders were tight with tension as she scanned boarding passes, her practiced smile not quite reaching her eyes. Sir, you're Group 3, Gloria said to a businessman trying to push through. Please wait for your group to be called. I fly this airline every week, the man snapped. I'm not standing around waiting. Company policy, sir. I need you to. Get your supervisor. This is ridiculous. Gloria's jaw tightened, but she maintained her composure. I am the supervisor on duty, sir. Your group will be called in approximately 3 minutes. The man muttered something under his breath that Katherine couldn't quite hear, but the word incompetent carried. Gloria's expression didn't change, but Katherine saw her grip tighten on the boarding pass scanner. Katherine's phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Flight looks full. 97% load factor, 2 gate-checked bags already. Good luck. Of course it was full. Richard's load factor optimization program ensured every flight operated at maximum capacity. No empty middle seats, no buffer for operational issues. Just maximum revenue per departure. From her MBA perspective, it made perfect sense. From where she stood in Group 4, it looked like a disaster waiting to happen. Group 2, you may now board, Gloria announced. The surge forward was immediate. Passengers from Groups 3 and 4 pushed toward the gate, boarding passes raised like tickets to a sold-out concert. Gloria's colleague, a younger white woman whose name tag read Jennifer Kowalski, tried to manage the crowd. Please check your boarding group, Jennifer said, her voice strained. We will get everyone on board. When? Someone shouted from the back. This flight's already delayed. Katherine checked the departure board. The flight showed on time. She made a mental note to investigate the discrepancy between customer perception and official status. A family of 4 squeezed past her, mother, father, and 2 young children who looked barely awake. The mother clutched a diaper bag and a collapsed stroller, juggling both while trying to keep her toddler from wandering off. The father carried a car seat and 2 roller bags. Excuse me, the mother said to Jennifer, where do I gate check the stroller? You should have done that before coming to the gate, Jennifer replied, not looking up from her scanner. No one told me that. It's in the pre-flight email. I didn't get an email, Jennifer sighed, the sound heavy with barely contained frustration. Just leave it here. We'll tag it. The mother looked around helplessly. But where? Just leave it, ma'am. We have 200 people to board. Katherine watched the mother's face crumple slightly before she set the stroller down near the gate desk and herded her family toward the jetway. The toddler started crying. The older child complained about being hungry. The father's expression suggested he was already regretting this trip. This was her airline. This was the experience she'd designed, or rather, failed to design. She'd approved the policies, signed off on the procedures, championed the efficiency metrics. But she'd never stood in this line, never felt the casual dismissal in a gate agent's voice, never watched a stressed parent navigate a system designed for solo business travelers. Group 3, welcome aboard. The crowd surged again. Katherine moved with them, maintaining her position near the back. She was in no hurry. The plane would wait for her. It had to. She was a ticketed passenger. But old executive habits died hard. She had to remind herself that Karen Miller wouldn't push forward, wouldn't expect special treatment, wouldn't assume anyone cared about her schedule. A man in an expensive suit cut in front of her, his carry-on bag clipping her shin. He didn't apologize, didn't even seem to notice. His boarding pass showed Group 2, but he'd waited until 3 was called to avoid the initial crush. Katherine bit back a comment. Karen Miller would accept this. Karen Miller was used to being invisible. Group 4, final boarding call. Katherine joined the last wave of passengers. Gloria scanned her boarding pass without making eye contact, the gesture mechanical after hundreds of similar scans. Katherine wanted to say something. Thank you. I see you, I'm sorry. But that would be Katherine talking, not Karen. The jetway was narrow and smelled of industrial cleaner and recycled air. Other passengers pressed close behind her, everyone rushing toward a plane that couldn't leave without them. The urgency made no logical sense, but Katherine felt it too. The primal fear of being left behind, of not getting her share of overhead bin space, of being relegated to gate checking her bag and waiting at baggage claim, while others went on with their days. She emerged from the jetway into the forward galley of the Airbus A321. 2 flight attendants stood there, greeting passengers with practiced smiles. One was a white woman in her 30s, blonde hair pulled back in a tight bun, her expression pleasant but distant. Her name tag read Ashley. The other was a black man in his early 40s, with close-cropped hair showing threads of gray and warm brown eyes that suggested genuine kindness hadn't been completely beaten out of him by years of service. His name tag read James Rivera. Katherine's breath caught. Rivera, the name from Sarah's briefing. Senior flight attendant, 12 years with Skyward, multiple complaints filed about working conditions, all dismissed by HR. Union representative for the Atlanta base. One of the employees who'd tried to tell her the truth through official channels, only to have his concerns vanish into Richard's bureaucratic maze. And here he was, greeting passengers at 6:30 in the morning with a smile that looked only slightly forced. Good morning. Welcome aboard, James said as she approached. His eyes met hers briefly, really met them, not the glazed-over look of someone performing a script, and something in his expression shifted. Recognition? No, that was impossible. She was Karen Miller now. But something registered in his gaze, some acknowledgement of shared humanity that the other flight attendant hadn't bothered with. Morning, Katherine replied, her voice carefully neutral. You're in the back of the aircraft, James said, glancing at her boarding pass. Overhead bins are filling up fast. You might want to place your bag under the seat in front of you. It was practical advice, delivered kindly. Katherine nodded and moved down the aisle. The plane was already nearly full. Passengers wrestled with overhead bins, shoving bags into spaces too small to accommodate them. A woman in row 8 was trying to force a roller bag sideways, her face red with effort. No one helped her. Everyone was focused on their own luggage, their own space, their own needs. Katherine's seat was 32B. Middle seat, near the back, between a teenage boy already plugged into his phone and a heavyset white man in a business suit who'd claimed both armrests and part of her seat space with his spread-out posture. Excuse me, Katherine said softly. The man didn't move. Excuse me, she repeated, louder. He shifted slightly, not looking up from his tablet, giving her just enough room to squeeze past. The teenager didn't acknowledge her at all. Katherine settled into her seat, the space so narrow her shoulders pressed against both neighbors. The seat in front of her was already reclined, leaving approximately 10 inches between her face and the headrest. She pulled out her phone and opened the Notes app, typing quickly. Boarding process chaotic. Gate agents overwhelmed and defensive. No clear crowd control. Families with small children given no assistance. Overhead bin situation critical before final boarding groups called. The man beside her glanced at her phone, and Katherine quickly switched to a game app. Karen Miller wouldn't be taking corporate notes. Karen Miller would be playing Candy Crush to pass the time. James Rivera's voice came over the PA system. Good morning, folks. This is James, your lead flight attendant. We're going to be closing the door in just a few minutes here. If you haven't found space for your carry-on bag, please press your call button and we'll help you gate check it at no charge. 3 call buttons immediately illuminated. Katherine watched as James and Ashley moved through the cabin, their efficiency born of long practice. But there was a difference in their approaches. Ashley grabbed bags and tagged them with mechanical precision, barely speaking to the passengers. James took an extra moment with each person, explaining what would happen, reassuring them their belongings would be waiting at baggage claim. "I need that bag on the plane," a woman in row 25 insisted. "It has my medication." "Then let's pull out your medication and you can keep it with you," James suggested. "The bag itself will be right there when we land." "I'm not checking my bag. I paid for a carry-on." "I understand, ma'am, but there's no more overhead space. The gate check is complimentary." "I don't care if it's complimentary. I want my bag with me." Ashley appeared behind James, her patience clearly exhausted. "Ma'am, we need to close the door. Either you gate check the bag or we're going to have to ask you to deplane and take a later flight." The threat hung in the air. The woman's face flushed with anger and humiliation, but she had no real choice. She yanked her bag down from where she'd been trying to force it into an already full bin. "This airline is a joke," she muttered. James took the bag gently, his voice low and professional. "I apologize for the inconvenience. I'll make sure this is tagged priority, so it's one of the first bags off in Atlanta." The small kindness seemed to deflate the woman's anger slightly. She sat down hard in her seat, arms crossed, but she stopped arguing. Katherine added to her notes. "Flight Attendant Rivera demonstrates customer service skills despite system failures." Flight Attendant Ashley burned out, no longer attempting emotional labor, both dealing with impossible situation created by overbooking and overselling of overhead bin space. The door closed with a heavy thunk. The cabin lights dimmed slightly as the aircraft switched to internal power. Katherine felt the familiar shift of motion as the tug pushed them back from the gate. James's voice came over the PA again. "Flight attendants, prepare for departure." Ashley moved through the cabin doing a final check, her expression blank. James followed more slowly, his eyes scanning the passengers with what looked like genuine concern. When he reached Katherine's row, he paused. "You doing okay?" he asked quietly. The question caught Katherine off guard. The man beside her had his elbow digging into her ribs. The teenager's music was loud enough that she could hear it through his headphones. The seat in front of her was reclined so far back she could barely move. But James was asking if she was okay, really asking, and something in his tone suggested he already knew the answer. "I'm fine," Katherine lied. James's eyes held hers for a moment longer than necessary. "If you need anything during the flight, just press your call button. We're here to help." Then he moved on, and Katherine was left wondering if he said that to everyone, or if something about her, about Karen Miller, had triggered his protective instincts. The plane began to taxi. Katherine stared at the seat back in front of her, at the worn fabric and the safety card pocket stuffed with garbage from previous flights. This was row 32 of a Skyward Airlines A321. This was the product she sold. This was the experience she'd promised to shareholders would maximize revenue per available seat mile. And it was absolutely miserable. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Board meeting moved up to tomorrow. Westfield pushing for emergency session on Q3 cost reductions. Richard has a presentation ready." Katherine's stomach tightened. Of course Richard had a presentation ready. He always had a presentation ready. More cuts, more efficiency improvements, more ways to squeeze blood from stones and call it optimization. She typed back, "Can you stall?" "I can try, but Westfield has the votes if he wants to force this through." Katherine closed her eyes, feeling the aircraft accelerate toward takeoff. She was 35,000 feet away from being able to stop whatever Richard was planning. She was Karen Miller now, just another passenger in a middle seat, powerless and invisible. The plane lifted off, and Katherine felt her stomach drop. Not from the climb, but from the sudden vertiginous understanding of what she'd done. She'd given up control. She'd made herself vulnerable. She'd stepped into a world where she had no authority, no special treatment, no way to fix what was broken. And she was about to discover just how broken it really was. The seatbelt sign DINMED as they reached cruising altitude. James appeared in the aisle with the beverage cart, his practiced smile back in place. But Katherine could see the exhaustion around his eyes, the tightness in his shoulders that spoke of too many early mornings and too many difficult passengers. "Can I get you something to drink?" he asked the man beside Katherine. Bloody Mary, and make it strong. I can give you 1 bottle of vodka per drink, sir. Company policy. That's ridiculous. I'm paying for this flight. Actually, you're in basic economy, so beverages with alcohol are $7. The man's face reddened. $7 for a drink? Yes, sir. We take credit cards. This is highway robbery. James's smile didn't waver, but Katherine saw his jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. I understand your frustration, sir. Would you like the Bloody Mary, or would you prefer a complimentary beverage? The man waved him away dismissively. James turned to Katherine, and his expression softened slightly. And for you, ma'am? Just water, please. Ice? Yes, thank you. He poured her water into a plastic cup, his movements efficient but not rushed. As he handed it to her, their fingers touched briefly, and Katherine saw something flicker in his eyes. Concern? Recognition? Or just the automatic kindness of someone who'd spent 12 years reading passengers' distress signals? Let me know if you need anything else, he said, and moved on. Katherine sipped her water and watched him work his way down the aisle. He was patient with the elderly woman who couldn't decide between coffee and tea. He found crackers for a child who was getting fussy. He diffused a complaint about the temperature with a promise to adjust it and a genuine apology for the discomfort. This was the heart of her airline. Not the executive suite in Chicago, not the boardroom where Richard presented his optimization models, not the quarterly earnings calls where she promised shareholders consistent returns. This, right here. James Rivera at 6:45 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, serving water and pretzels to 200 passengers who would never know his name, never thank him for his patience, never see the human being behind the uniform. And she was paying him. Katherine pulled out her phone and checked the union contract database she downloaded before going dark. $32,000 a year to start, with a top-out wage of $58,000 after 12 years. $58,000 for 12 years of early mornings and late nights, of dealing with drunk passengers and sick passengers and angry passengers, of living out of a suitcase and sleeping in crew hotels, of missing birthdays and holidays and his own life. The man beside Katherine finally fell asleep, his head lolling toward her shoulder. She shifted away, pressing against the teenager, who shot her an annoyed look without removing his headphones. The cabin smelled of recycled air and someone's fast food breakfast. The engines droned steadily. Outside the window, clouds stretched endlessly in every direction. Katherine pulled out her phone and opened her notes again, but her fingers hovered over the keyboard, unable to type. What could she possibly write that would capture this? The grinding indignity of it all? The casual cruelty of systems designed for efficiency over humanity? The exhaustion in James Rivera's eyes? She was 2 hours into her undercover operation, and she already wanted to stand up and scream, "I'm Katherine Morrison, CEO of this airline, and I'm so sorry. I'm so desperately sorry for what we've become." But she couldn't. She was Karen Miller, and Karen Miller was invisible.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.